Good morning. This is the Municipal Services Environmental Sustainability Committee, and we're meeting on June 11th at 10 a.m. My committee members are Vice President Russell.
Here.
And Councilmember Jim Posh. Actually, he's Vice Chair. Jim Posh is Vice Chair of the committee, but Vita Russell is also Vice President of the Council, so I want to make sure that's clear. Also, we have Director Klingscale from Public Works is joining us, and our guest this morning is Elizabeth, I'm going to pronounce your last name incorrectly, I'm sure, Biggins-Raymer or wrong?
You got it. Yes, Raymer, yes.
Elizabeth Biggins-Raymer, who is the Executive Director of Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District. And she will be making a presentation this morning. So I'd like to just get started right away by rereading the introduction to the reason we're here is because Resolution 106-2025 was moved into our committee.
Right.
And the plan would be to move it back to council after the presentation's done today. So it is a resolution to adopt the 2026 to 2040, please keep that in mind, solid waste management plan for the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District. I'm going to give the floor to you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Many of the things that we'll see on the screen, I've also provided, so you can take notes if you would like. We have a copy of the PowerPoint. We also have a copy of our executive summary of the solid waste plan, the 2026 to 2040 solid waste plan. The entire solid waste plan, which is 329 pages, is available for viewing. It is posted on our website as well as our summary. In the spirit of trying to reduce, we did not print copies of that, but it is available on our website. And then we have kind of a one-page fact sheet, and then you all have, I brought an extra sample resolution if you needed that, but you do not. So we'll just launch into the presentation. There we go. We'll just quickly go through all of these items. I know you only have an hour, so I want to go through this as quickly as possible. We'll leave it open for questions at the end. So who is the Cuyahoga County Solid Waste District? We have been around for a number of years. We are a creature of statute that originated out of House Bill 592 back in 1988. Of Ohio's 88 counties, there are 52 solid waste districts. We happen to be a single county solid waste district. As you kind of get to the edges of the state where there's less population, those are multi-county districts. And our mission is through statute to reduce reliance on landfills. There is an Ohio State Solid Waste Plan that sets a variety of goals, which we'll go over later in this presentation. And our solid waste plan, if you will, is a master plan for all things solid waste. So garbage, recycling, composting, bird food management, household hazardous waste, variety of things. And we are by statute supposed to craft a solid waste plan. It covers a 15-year planning window. However, we update this every 5 years. So we come back before you every 5 years to update that rolling 15-year window. And that's what we'll be going over today.
Where is it located?
We are located at 4750 East 131st Street in Garfield Heights. This is a picture of our building, which the district rehab that used to be an old bowling alley. And if you've never been there, we'd love to have you come down. Because a lot of the programs that we offer our communities are a hub and spoke variety. For example, household hazardous waste and some other things we'll talk about later in the presentation are gathered at the community level for convenience. And then your service department folks bring those into us for then accumulating and then managing out of that facility. So you're welcome anytime. So what is the plan? Went over that quickly. So these are the plan requirements. As I said, these are established for us by the Ohio EPA, and we are to assure that we reduce reliance on landfills, that the solid waste that we generate across all of our sectors, residential, commercial, and industrial, have a place for their materials to go to. We have to have a viable funding mechanism. We happen to be an enterprise fund. We are our own political subdivision. Our boundaries are not that of Cuyahoga County. We have a little chunk of Geauga County. And so we're our own political subdivision. We're self-funded. We don't get any county assistance. And then we are, as we'll go through the state goals, we are mandated to provide programming on specific needs such as specialty waste like household hazardous waste, electronics. And those are the state goals. There are 10 of them that we have to incorporate into our master plan. Goal 1 and 2, districts choose which one they want to adhere to. We have historically adhered to goal number 2. It's a percentage goal. We're a very data-driven district. As Colette can attest, we send out every year to our communities a survey asking them to report on the wonderful activities that each community does. We accumulate that because on an annual basis, as you can see, goal 10, we have to report to the EPA June 1st of every year, kind of our solid waste pie, across all 3 sectors. What are we disposing of? What is being reduced or recycled? And then in the state, we have always adhered to goal 2. We also, just because of our mature solid waste infrastructure with all of our communities, we also meet goal 1. So we do have great opportunities for those that live within our district to have some type of recycling. And then you can see the other 7 goals, 10 being the reporting to the EPA. We have to have outreach and education, other specialty waste, programming to help our businesses, and and then we also have to report on greenhouse gases. So how was the plan developed? Well, we started actually back in 2023 with all of our data. The baseline data for this plan is 2022. And so in 2023, we began accumulating all the data from 2022 to begin to put that solid waste pie together so we can do projections. We did work with a consultant, actually 2 of them, Resource Recovery Systems, as well as Chagrin Valley Engineering, to help us put together this rather large document. The plan is set up where the chapters in the front are kind of more consumable, they're easy reading, and then all the appendices in the back are the heavy data. So those consultants helped us with all the number crunching that we're required to do. We also have this thing called a policy committee, which is set by statute. And Cuyahoga County is very unique in that from its inception, we decided not to go with the prescribed statutory policy committee. We actually utilized the County Planning Commission because we felt that was more representative of all of our population in Cuyahoga County. So our policy committee is the Planning Commission plus 2. 1 individual that represents large generators, and that individual happens to be representing Metro Health as the large generator. And then we have an individual that's just representing the general public. And so we met also early in 2024 with all the service directors. We sponsored this activity called a Trash Talk Lunch. And we asked all of our,
You gotta do it.
you gotta do it. When in the business, you need to do things to make you smile, right? So we sponsored a Trash Talk Lunch, and many of our service directors attended, and we asked them, what do you like about our current services? What don't you like about our current services? And what do you want to see change? Or where do you want us to see our movement in the future? We've also talked to educators, from pre-K through post-secondary, and we've talked to the private sector because altogether we have to work across a variety of interests in order to make sure we try and head in a responsible direction. And this is all of our policy committee members. This was as of May of 2025. And we have representatives from a good swath of the county. You can see that Tim Weber represents Metro Health. He's our large generator. And then Michelle Wilhelm is our citizen representative. And this information is kind of called out on the 1-page fact sheet that I have provided. most of what we do for this entire planning process is tightly scripted in statute. We have, deadlines that we have to meet. And for example, we can run through, as I mentioned, we started in 2023. We submitted an initial draft to the OEPA for review in August of 24. That was returned to us without, any real comments. They were rather complimentary, which is good. It meant we did our homework. We then had to conduct a 30-day public comment period, which we did earlier this year. We received no comments, oral or written. At the conclusion of that, then we had to conduct a public hearing, which we did, and no one attended, and nor did we receive any written or public comments at the public hearing. After which then we polished up the document, which really remained in the same kind of form as it had prior, and presented it to our policy committee on April the 10th, asking them to please adopt the plan so that we could get it in front of all of our 59 communities for this process called ratification. Statutorily, we are given 90 days, which began on May the 10th and it concludes on August the 10th. And during that 90-day period, we are to ask all 59 of our political subdivisions to consider what they like about the plan, and if they do like it, please pass a piece of legislation in support of that. By statute, what we need to do is we need to get yes pieces of legislation totaling 60% of the population of the district, inclusive of our largest political subdivision, which is the city of Cleveland, plus county council. And if we check all of those boxes, we can get more population. Once we check all of our boxes, then we have satisfied our ratification qualification, which will conclude, as I said, on August the 10th. We'll then go back to our policy committee in October, show them kind of our math. We have to show them our math, and they will certify our ratification. That we've met our 60% threshold, checked our boxes for largest political subdivision in the county, and then we package that tally along with copies of the legislation and the plan, send it back to the EPA, and hopefully then they review all that, make sure everything is still in order, and will hopefully then send us our findings and orders early next year, which will tell us to implement the activities in our plan. So a bit scripted, but we've done this several times now, so we are in that yellow box at the bottom. What's new and different? Probably we'll skip down to kind of the second part of the page. So what we are hoping to do is expand programming for hard to manage items. As you probably have all experienced yourself, lithium-ion batteries are a bane within the recycling stream as well as in the garbage stream. We're trying to figure out how to better manage that for all of our communities. We'll be looking at that, trying to figure out a way we can orchestrate something. We're currently doing a pilot program just to kind of test the waters with a handful of communities, see how that goes. If it goes well, then and the plan passes, and hopefully we can roll that out in a more robust form. We also want to do a textile analysis and putting that data together that we mentioned. We have seen that there's been an increase in textile disposal, fast fashion. And we would like to get a better idea of where is it being generated from, and more importantly, how is it being managed downstream? We want to make sure we're not, burdening or we collectively are, being responsible with how we dispose or manage those materials.
We're talking about clothing and bedding and anything fabric.
Right. We saw that's an ever increasing amount that's ending up in the landfill. And so that's, we call it fast fashion. And, it's everybody, it's back to school wear, and it's, Christmas wear or holiday wear. And then, it's just, people don't repair and reuse the way they used to. I'm sounding like I'm 110. That is part of this analysis we'll be looking at. And then the other analysis we would like to complete is investigating organics consortiums, both yard waste as well as food waste. That's another very large component of our waste stream, and we want to see if there's better ways to manage it other than sending it to the landfill. It's infinitely compostable, and I won't launch into all the good things it does for your grounds, but we want to look into that. Most importantly, there are no new fees introduced in this update, and we'll talk more about that specifically. We are going to be enhancing existing programs. We heard loud and clear from our communities that the grants that we offer, we currently offer 3. In this plan, we're looking to offer 4, so we're looking to increase the number of grants, change what's an allowable use under the grants, and increase the funding levels. So we understand that today's dollar doesn't go as far as $1 5 years ago, so we want to adjust those. The other programs, we look to add additional litter collection crews. We have a contract with Core Community Services. They sweep through all 59 communities, collecting litter and illegally dumped materials in the rights of ways of communities. We want to get them on, increase their force, increase their team so we can get around to the communities more frequently. I'll talk more about the Environmental Crimes Force, and I'll talk a little bit more about our outreach and education in a moment. Key elements of the plan. This probably speaks to it all. This is, over all of our sectors. You can see that we reduce and recycle about 38% of our materials. Now, this is across residential, commercial, industrial. And then we're still landfilling about 62%. This gives you an idea of some of the challenges each one of our communities has to deal with in dealing with solid waste, and we're here as free consultants to assist you with those. We are just like New York City. We export all of our waste. We do not have an active landfill within the county, and we send our waste, we collectively export all of our waste, our 1.5 million tons of waste annually, to 18 different landfills outside of Cuyahoga County. So that's the other reason we want to be mindful about what can we do to reduce that reliance on landfills, so we are not burdening our neighbors. This just gives you an idea of where all this goes. We do utilize 17 transfer stations, 9 of which are located directly, as you all know, directly here in Cuyahoga County. And so we do have a rather robust and well-established solid waste infrastructure. But this will give you some idea of what we deal with. Currently, there's 54 years of licensed capacity at landfills throughout the state of Ohio. So we do have capacity for all that 1.5 million every year during the next 15 years of the planning period. Gives you an idea of where all of the recyclables from our curbside programs go. So we're very unique in that we are a 4 MRF, which is Material Recovery Facility, district. We're really the only one in the state that has 4 MRFs that we feed into, which is pretty unique. So, and that is to the, to the investment of our private sector friends. As you can see, some of our materials go to Republic and Oberlin, Kimball and Summit County, which is in Twinsburg, Waste Management, which is in Oakwood, actually here in Cuyahoga County. And that says Akron because at the time they hadn't reopened their Oakwood facility. They've subsequently closed Akron, now everything's in Oakwood. And then some of the material actually goes to Rumpke and Columbus. They've recently invested $100 million in the material recycling facility. And then we have dozens and dozens of unique recyclers that a lot of our industries and our business utilize, such as individual paper recyclers or plastics or things of that nature, right? So that's where we stand with our recycling. This will give you an idea. This is as of 2022 what our pie looked like. Gives you an idea. There's a big yard waste slice, and gives you an idea of what is being managed and what we need to take a look at. And we're going to quickly go through these slides. I want to be cognizant of time here. I've touched on a lot of these. As part of this master plan, we were required to do a 14-step analysis. So the idea was to look at all the programming that we offer, look holistically at that, and what can we better, how can we better ourselves? So for example, residential recycling, we'll continue working very closely with our private sector friends, and I'll come back and talk about that when we get to outreach and education. One of the things we're interested in doing is piloting some super sites to reach our multifamily folks who don't have the luxury of curbside recycling. And as I mentioned, looking at better managing organics. And please do know that we offer, we're the free consultants. We help with contract, and program development. So never hesitate to give us a buzz. Business and industry. We actually employ a business recycling specialist. Her name is Doreen, and her sole purpose is to reach out to businesses, whether that's commercial or industrial, and she helps them go through waste audits so they can understand what is in their waste stream. Is there anything that they can reduce or recycle? And then she helps them right-size their solid waste contracting, especially for medium to small businesses. Many of those folks do not have an environmental health or safety manager, so a lot of times they haven't looked at that, and we can go in and help them assess those things. And then based on some tweaks, if they're willing to implement those, Doreen can help them say, well, if you're now migrating this material out of your garbage, you can go back to your garbage hauler, reduce, the service that you're being offered on that garbage, container, because now you're migrated that material over to recycling, or maybe it's reduction. So we have somebody on staff that can help any of your businesses if you're interested. Special waste, that is the majority of what we do at our facility in Garfield Heights. As I mentioned, we use a hub and spoke collection system. We hold a contract for household hazardous waste. So we ask our communities, and we used to do these. I'm a recycled employee. I've been with the district, went away, and I came back. In the olden days, we used to do these events twice a year at the Berea Fairgrounds, and it was simply not convenient for folks. And so when we built this facility almost 13 years ago now, rehabbed it, what we wanted to do is have the communities collect these specialty wastes on a schedule that was best for them. Everybody has different space constraints within their service departments, how they interact with their communities. Some communities collect year round, others just have like spring, fall. And so what we do is we ask the communities to collect locally. We have a special waste recycling specialist on staff. You call Matt, you schedule a time to come in, and then your service department brings that material, we aggregate it, and then we manage it going to either proper disposal, because some things cannot be recycled, or recycled. Mm-hmm. And so we use our facility as that hub. Other things, we underwrite the annual scrap tire roundup. We contract currently with Liberty. They send a milk route around, and we can collect the tires your community has collected from the rights of ways. And we pick those up and get those recycled. And then I mentioned Core Community Services with litter. And then, we're looking to do something more, as I mentioned, with organic. Economic incentives. As I mentioned, we will help you with your programming and, development, your contracting, our grants. We have 3, our community recycling grant, which you all have taken advantage of in the past. We have a container grant, which is primarily for schools and nonprofits. We're going to be splitting that in half, so the schools have their own individual grant, and then we still service nonprofits. And then we have our special project grants, which we will award. We have $50,000 that we can award up to $25,000 for more kind of meat and potatoes, operational kind of grants. Outreach and education. I'm just going to take a moment to brag about our website. If you've not been to our website, please do so. I may be a little biased. CuyahogaRecycles.org. One of the things that we have developed in the upper left-hand corner is a function called What Do I Do With? And you can either click and you get a drop-down menu for all 59 communities. If you do that and click on your community, it will give you the latest and greatest of the materials that can go in your community's recycling program. We keep in constant contact with the private sector to find out, based on their end markets or innovations they've made at their MRF, what are they accepting? And so we keep that constantly updated. You and your residents can go to that, click on, Cleveland Heights, and you have it right there. We also have it by commodity. So if you type in tennis shoes, let's say, and it'll show you an entire list of where you can donate tennis shoes. There's also a geocoding function, just like on your cell phone. So in the event that you absolutely need to get rid of those tennis shoes right then and there, you can allow yourself to be pinged, and the list will come up accordingly based on your actual location where you may be sitting in your office or your car. So that's probably one of our best used tools. We have other publications and whatnot. You can sign up for our newsletter, sign up for a speaker, and we do outreach.
And we do have a link on our on our website to Cuyahoga Recycles. So if our residents go to our page, they can click on a link that takes them directly to the Cuyahoga Solid Waste District.
And so just real quick here, funding. As solid waste districts, we have one of two funding options. Since we don't have a landfill, we utilize a generation fee, which is a fee per ton on every ton of waste that is disposed in the state of Ohio. Our waste, I should say, waste generated in Cuyahoga County that is disposed in the state of Ohio. What you are currently paying for disposal costs, that $2 per ton is already baked in there. Our generation fee has been baked into what you pay since the very beginning. So
It's $2 per ton.
$2 per ton. And just to give you an idea, this is where we've been since our inception with our generation fee.
Next page.
So we started at $1, we're currently at $2. We have done our projections for 15 years with keeping it at $2 per ton. We definitely know in the next 5 that will not change, barring any unforeseen economic things that may occur.
And that totals about $100,000 for the city of Cleveland Heights, I believe.
That
fees.
And you're projecting that your 5-year reviews give it your opportunity, should something happen, change drastically, that would give you the opportunity to increase the
Right,
fees.
we're hoping
For now, till
it's-
2040.
Well, from now until we come back, right, we've projected all the way to 2040.
Yeah.
Because we have to demonstrate to the state that we're solvent for that 15-year planning period. So we utilize that $2.
Okay.
So, just like when you do your budgets.
That's why I brought it up,
Yeah.
so that when you guys see that line item in the
Right,
budget, you're
that's us.
familiar with what it goes to.
That's us. So, to give you an idea, the average generation fee in the state of Ohio is $4.75. And so these are some of our adjacent solid waste districts.
You're
And,
doing a great job.
well, thank you. We try, we like to believe that for $2 a ton, there's 7 of us, we try to, do the best we can and do as much as we can for $2 a ton. So, and then if you do dig into the numbers in our plan, what you will notice is that with our $2 per ton, we're gonna be generating about 2.6 million in revenue, but with the expansion of our programs, we're gonna be spending about 2.7. Well, wait a second, that puts you in the negative. We have a fund balance that we are wanting to spend down a bit to get these programs kicked off. And usually once things get memorialized, fees costs level out, and so we hope to utilize some of that fund balance over the next several years to get things established. And going forward, we should be set.
Great strategy.
Thank you. And then programs and services, I've already laughed, and I want to make sure I wrap this up. Outreach and education, again, I'm bragging about our website. We do have an education specialist. Her name is Karen Miller, and she will come out and she can do workshops. When I say for you, it could be for you as the community, or if you have a Rotary group or a garden club, whatever it is you may want. We can talk about really anything from reduction activities to, we are trying to increase awareness about your right to repair, reuse, recycling, composting, whether it's yard waste or food waste.
And if I could just jump in for 1 second, if you guys remember, Karen Miller sat on our task force
Yes.
that we
Oh, that's
had.
right, that's
So
right.
she's a resident, I believe.
Yes,
Karen's
she
a
is. I
resident,
forgot about
and
that.
she sat on our task force when we
Yes.
transitioned to automatic pickup.
I thought the name sounded familiar, but I didn't pick up on it.
She's an amazing educator. We're very lucky to have her. We're lucky to have all of our staff. Again, community services, that's part of our household hazardous waste, our free contracting. Talked about our waste convenience center. We actually are a drop off ourselves. So, with the exception of household hazardous waste, which we like to have come through the communities, we are open 8:30 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. And we do accept things like fluorescent light bulbs, computers, if you have, we call them now festive lights, we see
Party lights.
party lights, we get those year round now. Your election signs, and then the pack tech rings, those things that cover the tops of 6-packs now.
Oh,
All of which we have, and we take DVDs, CDs, and we're looking to also expand some, as I mentioned, we'll be looking at batteries in the future, so.
and we just bring them to that location.
You can bring it to the location, we have everything set up in our lobby. We're also open the second Saturday of the month, kind of from spring through fall. And because we know that 8:30 to 4:30 is not tremendously convenient, so we call that second Saturdays. And we are there, basically from 9 to noon that you can come and drop things off also. We staff that.
And we do collect the political signs and festive lights at our service department, that's where we take them to.
Yep. And we have end markets for those materials. And I did want to touch base on quickly our environmental crimes task force. We oversee relationships with both the City of Cleveland Police Department as well as the Sheriff's Department. And we actually have a task force, so it covers the entire county, that will investigate illegal dumping or other environmental crimes. Most environmental crimes are felonies. And so if your local police department runs into something, do give us a call. We can get them hooked up with folks. We've had some great success in the last 18 months with some prosecutions, which is good. Mm-hmm. And then, because they'll come out, they'll do an investigation, gather the materials that they need for prosecution, and then we'll work with you to try and get that, the legal dump cleaned up. So
Task force set up some surveillance in Caledonia Ravine for us.
they did.
Yeah, and so that was
our
very
task
helpful.
force, yes.
I was gonna ask about that.
Yeah, and we've actually, that's one of the prosecutions that we've gotten in the last 18 months.
Oh, really?
Right there. Yep, cool. And so, that's that.
Calendar
know
was
that
up.
part.
Yeah, she'll be happy.
Yep, so we, if you need anything, give us a holler. And then ratification, again, we've gone over that, we're in the ratification period. To let you know, during that 90-day period, if a community does not take action, a no action is counted as a no vote. So we have to put that in the no column. If someone, for whatever reason, due to, summer breaks, and this is the first time that in all of our years, that ratification has fallen over the summer for us. And so we were a little panicked because there are many communities that break for the summer. So that was a new twist for us this time around. But if there's no action, we have to count it as a no. So legislation does have to be passed by August the 10th for our tallying. If we do not achieve ratification, so for some reason we don't achieve 60% inclusive of the county and our largest political subdivision, then the EPA will come in and write a plan for us and give us findings and orders to implement whatever it is that they write. So goal is not to lose local control. And then questions.
I just have a couple. If we're successful at increasing our composting and recycling practices, is it possible that the current landfill fill capacity could be extended beyond the projected 54 years?
Oh, absolutely.
So that's really something we want to
Yes.
encourage, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that the 54 years is always kind of a rolling number
Yeah.
as things fill and then as landfills petition for expansions. And so that was the snapshot at that time. But yes, the goal would be then we are less reliant. And it hopefully then net would decrease some costs for you.
Questions?
No, she was very good.
No, I think this is a great plan, obviously, and you guys have been following the formula over years, and I don't want to say it's a rubber stamp, but there's many people before us that I believe have seen this and contributed their expertise to it. You know, my hot issue, just as a regular citizen taking off my council hat, is styrofoam. I mean, how can you manage it? And even when I see it get tossed away, even some of the bins that we provide our residents, it gets chopped up, and before you know it, there's styrofoam stuff floating all over the street. And it just seems, I wish there was a better solution for that.
A couple of things. One, we would recommend, now obviously when you order something, you can't control how it comes packaged, especially larger things like furniture and TVs, electronics. It is one of the most difficult things to recycle because of the end market.
Yeah.
The closest end market is in Indiana. And as you know, it's very lightweight. And in order to make the economics work, you have to have a pretty vast area after you condense it to store all these little bricks to fill up a semi that makes it worth the transportation to send it. You know, what we have been trying to do, and polystyrene is also, right now, it's a very difficult thing to recycle on processing end. We're encouraging other types of packaging. You know, we do at the Solid Waste District work with both state and national organizations. We're not a bottle bill state, unfortunately, and you know, we are trying to talk about, you know, extended producer responsibility. I sat on a panel last week with the Association of Plastic Recyclers, and they are at least now willing to come to the table to understand, instead of creating packaging in a vacuum, understanding what are those difficulties, and well, now I got the styrofoam, what do I do with it? How do I manage it? And how does it not end up in the landfill? So that's probably one of the more bright spots we've seen in the last 5 years, is those manufacturers are now willing to come to the table. But we're always looking, if we could make the economics work, we definitely would jump into it.
Oh, yeah.
So
What about plastic bags? What are we doing with that?
plastic bags, well, the county did pass a ban,
Right.
and then unfortunately the state passed a piece of legislation to ban bans.
Banned it.
So that is still on the county's books. It is solely voluntary because due to some, you know, legal trials, basically what the state passed trumped our local, you know, county legislation. We are constantly trying to educate people on don't use them. I mean, we are so lucky to have the water resources we do here, and we want to, you know, we try to encourage people, you know, just refuse. That's another R we recently added to our list of R's, is just refuse it. If you can take your own reusable bag or a box, or you know, shop somewhere that, you know, offers those. So it's a lot of our larger grocery stores just never got on board with that, sadly. Many retailers did. You know, many of kind of the like the clothing retailers and those
Gone to
folks
paper.
have gone to paper, which is good. So we've had some progress, but the grocers, so we encourage.
Because the Ohio EPA is your main agency that governs you, are you seeing any possibility you'll be affected by what's going on in DC?
For solid waste, no, which is good. To kind of talk about the funding mechanics, so also baked into that fee that you pay for your disposal is $4.75 that gets remitted to the OEPA in Ohio. And that's what underwrites their oversight of our programming. They do offer some grants. They too offer market development and litter recycling grants, and that's what funds that. So as long as what is going on in Washington doesn't, I would say, affect too much of the remaining parts of the agency, we should be okay.
Okay.
I say that per every meeting, so.
Can I just add a few things if you guys are done asking questions? As Beth just mentioned about the Ohio EPA little grants, if you guys recall, we purchased one of our vehicles and we received a $200,000 grant from the Ohio EPA under that program that Beth mentioned. She also mentioned the new initiatives that they're doing as far as yard waste and composting. I just wanted to state for the record that we do not send any of our yard waste to landfills. We recycle all of our yard waste, which residents, sometimes they call and they say, well, why wasn't my yard waste picked up with my trash? Because our yard waste does not go to landfills. So a different truck picks up our yard waste. And we have a lot of yard waste. If you would look at the Cuyahoga Recycles reporting, we're probably one of the top cities as far as recycling yard waste. So that's how much yard waste that we have. Just to put things in perspective, because you guys have been receiving a lot of complaints about yard waste. The other thing that I'd like to just bring to your attention is Beth mentioned about their 9 transfer stations in Cuyahoga County. We happen to be one of them, so that's why we don't want to lose that certification because we would not be able to get it back.
And we're investing, what, 800,000 to $1 million in that this year?
Yeah, we plan to upgrade our transfer station, yeah. It needs some work. And you guys know that we actually truck our landfill. We truck our solid waste to a landfill in Shiloh, Ohio. So we pay a little less because we don't go directly to Rumpke's landfill. When we do have to go to Rumpke's landfill, it costs us about twice as much. And we're trying to see how we're going to manage that when we start to upgrade the transfer station. And what else? What other note did I make? And you guys may remember Beth, when she first came back to the agency, she actually came and presented for us. She helped us negotiate our contract when we actually switched from Kimball to Waste Management. So she did present before council and she was very instrumental in that. And our recycling costs really went down when we entered into that new contract.
And you guys are doing a great job. I mean, especially with all the mature, beautiful trees you have. That's
The spring's been tough with all the weather. So.
You good? I would like to thank you, not only just for being here to talk about the legislation, but for all that you and your staff do. It's very impressive, and our director, Cleanscale, of course, is our expert on site, so anything that she's supportive of means a lot to us as well. So I would like to ask the committee at this point if you're ready to send it back to council for a vote.
Yes.
And myself as well. So it would be our intention, and I've asked President of Council Kuda to put it on, and I believe it's gonna be on the 16th,
Right.
June 16th agenda for a vote. That'll be second reading, and because we're recommending to go back, I'm optimistic.
good.
So this is
Well, we
very
appreciate
impressive.
it.
Thank you so much, Beth.
And if you need us to come to council, please give me a buzz.
Okay.
You can come then too. So,
We just have a couple short items. If you would like to leave, that's,
okay, well, thank you. I will leave this extra stuff with you in case someone else wants that.
thank you.
In the spirit of recycling. If someone else would like to review this.
It was helpful to have this too, so we can make notes as well.
Thanks, Beth.
Oh, you are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I was just gonna do a quick update on the composting pilot program. The administration is writing the RFP. They're working on getting this request for proposal out. And while Director Clinkscale's here, would you want to talk about what you're proposing for a future meeting?
Well, I was just gonna ask if we could sort of get an update on our trash and recycling efforts within the city. Maybe an update on the transfer station. And if you could just, maybe fit that in the next month or two.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of questions people have. I think if you had listened to a good part of this it would give our residents a lot of comfort hearing all this. And I kind of expect when we sort of really see what's happening in your department and the capacity of your department regarding this, I think that'll be really helpful for us to know just when we get down to the budget process next year.
Probably wouldn't be scheduled till August. But would it be helpful, Director Klingscale, if we sent you some of the recurrent questions we're getting so that you can
be fine.
have information about what's happening in our email boxes? With that meeting in mind, so.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have Addie send out a doodle poll for us and put that on an agenda item for August.
I do have to say, it sounds really good. I mean, the relationship that you have with Elizabeth and, the Kaga Solid Waste, management organization or district. I mean, I think our city having these kind of strong relationships, which we obviously have as demonstrated here today, I think is really, really helpful. And I really appreciate your work, making sure that that just continues and maintains and what you built into it. So thank you.
Right. I was gonna ask, we did get a couple emails about some of the equipment is being down. You wanna speak to that a little bit?
Sure, I can speak to that. So you guys inquired about equipment being down. As I indicated in my email, we have equipment go down all the time. We have trucks and vehicles and things like that. They go down all the time. It has not affected trash pickup because we have been using a rear packer and we've been collecting trash manually if we have one of our front loaders down. So we've continued to provide that service, and in some cases, your trash may not have been picked up until 4:00 or 4:30, but the trash is picked up on schedule. Even with that equipment being done, we just have to kind of, scramble a little bit internally to make sure it's done. Now, a lot of it may be connected with yard waste. And as you just heard from the presentation, we generate a lot of yard waste. We do not landfill it, so it's not picked up with the regular driver. We have a second vehicle to pick that up. But because we've had so much yard waste, we have been working weekends. We have been doing a good job. I think we're almost to the point where we're caught up, where we're going to start being able to collect the yard waste on the same day as we pick up the trash or the day after. But, we had a couple trucks that caught on fire. That's why it's very important not to put batteries and things of that nature in your trash. One of the trucks we had to send to Michigan, and it's been there for a couple of months, and we don't expect to get it back for another couple of months.
Some of
because
the new ones?
it needed major repairs.
The new truck?
One of the new trucks, yeah. When we say new, it's like one of the trucks that we purchased in 2020.
Okay.
One of the front loaders.
One of the front loaders.
So
We just recently got a new truck, but part of that was through the grant that we got with the Ohio EPA. So that was just delivered. So we're getting, logos and stuff put on it. It's out, so it's helped. It was timely that we received it when we did.
are you looking for in the future, maybe adding to?
Yes, I think that we should.
Cause so you won't have those issues when your trucks go down, you'll have some type of
I plan
backup,
to ask for one in the budget for next year.
just one?
What do those run?
Those trucks cost about $500,000.
Is there a
And
recommendation?
that's like the old price. I don't know what they'll be,
Right,
what will be the
tariffs,
cost this year, but we'll investigate that. So we do plan to request a truck in our budget because it's difficult and it's a burden on staff when we have to pick up trash manually.
Yeah.
But we do it, we do what we have to do.
Is there a safe way, besides taking them to recycle center, for batteries to be put in the bins, or would you rather they're not put in the bins?
We'd rather that they not be put in with the trash.
Okay.
We're also investigating some type of piece of equipment that will go on our trucks that will help in the event that the truck does catch on fire. I mean, in the instance of the two that we had, we do have the fire extinguishers on each truck, and the driver did try to put it out. but it did do, significant damage.
So is that damage covered by insurance fund? These are questions that you can answer when we,
Yeah,
When you
yeah,
meet in
well,
August.
it depends on what the cost is, whether or not it's cost effective to pursue insurance with some of the claims that we have. But that's to be determined, with our law department.
Is one truck feasible or two?
Would probably be good to get two because it could take up to a year to get those trucks.
Yeah. And the cost may continue to go up, and if nothing else, people are more likely to worry about more of the services than anything else, so that
And
would
we've
have
been in
backup.
the past, we've been adding a truck. We have been adding a truck in every year with our budget. It's just that the truck that we just received, we had already ordered and it was part of the grant, and that's why we didn't put one in the budget this year because we had actually received two, one with the grant and one that was purchased outright.
Mhm.
But, I would recommend that we have a refuse truck, a front loader in every year.
Mhm.
It's a good strategy.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't think anybody would be opposed to that.
Mhm. And I like the idea of maybe two, so that we don't have those issues.
You were gonna say something?
yeah, the 200,000 truck that you're referring to, that was one of the vacuum trucks.
No, the truck that we got from the EPA, we received it under a recycle grant that's administered through the Ohio EPA.
Okay.
And it's up to $200,000. And so the truck that we just purchased, it was about close to $500,000, but 200,000 of it was paid for via the grant. And the vac truck was actually, we're actually purchasing that through the cost sharing that we do with the sewer district.
It's a sewer district, okay.
And we did just receive that truck about a week ago. So,
It's gassed up, ready to go.
yeah, that put the logos on it. But we also try to keep in mind too, the garage can only accommodate so much stuff, so we're trying to do our fleet. As fleet ages out, we get more fleet, and we're just not holding on to trucks that are, unless we use it for parts that have gone beyond the useful life of the vehicle.
All right. Thank you so much for
You're welcome.
joining
Thank you.
us. Thank you for coming, you guys. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Steve.